You know what's really scary? Not having a spooky video for October! Ooh. Hey all, Con here. So I had somewhat recently completed the first episode of my webcomic, The Savage, and since my next video is taking longer than I would like to finish, I decided to make a simpler video in the meantime, and thought a Q&A for my comic would be a good idea for it. If this interests you enough to read the comic yourself, you can check it out in the links below. I think I've wasted enough time trying to even make this video happen, so let's get rolling. Drakto Hyena asked, was there a specific common writer that inspired you to make Savage? And what was your process to make the first monster? Actually, the initial concept of Savage was made long before I discovered and subsequently became obsessed with Kamen Rider. But once I did get into it, it became my main inspiration as it helped solidify the style, story structure, and tone the Savage was lacking in for years at the time. The main writers that inspired Savage to be what it is now are also my top 3, Build, Xaid, and O's. As for the first Chimera, it had quite the development over the years. Originally, it was named Pestinator, and was a bear-rattler-roach combo, with a gimmick of losing its head as a fake-out defeat like that ape boss from Sekiro. With the gimmick being kinda weird for a first battle and the fact it was just copied from a creature design from this cartoon I once watched called Yin Yang Yo. If you know what specific episode this idea came from, please inform me, I can't find it. But yeah, I fell out of love with the concept, so remade it. It was then named Tanifa, named after the Nessie equivalent of New Zealand, which I learned from an episode of Dino Charge. And it was a mix of grizzly, rattler, and pufferfish. This was where using a cement mixer to defeat it came from. But in this version, it would be used to plug up its mouth to backfire its own toxic hydro pumps and thus immobilize it. However, I realized I didn't want to put any inflation kink bait in my first episode, so I remade it again. The final iteration came from wanting some bird rep in honor of my boyfriend, so I chose a goose for the new mix, as I thought it'd be funny to have its powers based on basil geese from Monster Hunter. Get it, basil geese? The name Boomslang came from the actual snake species, cause it's a pun. It's a snake that goes boom. Boomslang ended up perfect after so many renditions. The simplicity of an explosion creature is a great first episode challenge, as well as being aquatic allows our hero to show off his own aquatic abilities. It's also just a really slick design. The Chimeras are the most fun I've had developing this comic, and I can't wait to show off the rest when they appear in their respective episodes. Anonymous asked, what were your biggest inspirations for this concept? That one episode of Kim Possible with DNA Me, that was my canon event. I became obsessed with combining animals from that day forward. Further exasperated by Dr. Animo and Ben 10, especially that famous Alien Fusion episode. Before Kamen Rider became my thing, I grew up loving Power Rangers, still do, and my personal favorite was Jungle Fury, which was the main inspo for the concept of animal spirits. Chimeras, mad science, and tokusatsu. It all came together like menagerie magic. All natural, baby. Fun fact, I created The Savage back in 2014 as part of an art class project, and have been developing the story for 10 years straight. Look at these fucking string beans. Bankrupt Wizard asked, since Savage is heavily based on Kamen Rider and other Japanese superheroes, is he going to receive multiple forms by releasing the various spirits? Yes and no. While I plan to have him save many of the spirits, and I do plan for him to expand his own arsenal, he won't be adding every spirit he saves into it. This isn't going to be like Build and Forze, where there's just dozens of various power system trinkets the hero can make combos out of. I'm just one dude, not a toy marketing team. I can't keep track of all the possibilities. Not to mention, I would want any spirits part of his arsenal to be proper major characters with fleshed out personalities. That's even more to keep track of. For my own sake, I've already decided on the plot-relevant recruitments, and they will be minimal, with any additional spirits he might use to be only for special occasions. Quote, keep it simple, stupid, are words to live by. Anonymous asked, can you tell us anything about the setting? Our story takes place on the fictional island nation of Hanamori, located somewhere between Japan and New Zealand. The time frame is set a long time after the era of superheroes has passed, and an even longer time since druids had been anything more than myth to the modern day. By the time we meet Joey, the world has found normalcy. That is until he stumbles upon a certain mad scientist and the animal spirits that she has captive. The series will gradually reveal more lore about supers and the druids. Supers especially will get some spotlight, as I have a fun video series planned for them once my Pantheon of Sandbox is over. So subscribe if that all sounds interesting. Cadhag asked, how many spirits does Biovis have exactly? Is there a spirit for every kind of animal? And in relation, Keru asked, how did the spirits get caught? After finding the menagerie by currently unknown means, Biovis used a giant vacuum to suck them all up. Some were able to escape the initial capture, but overall, 90% of all spirits are in their clutches. There isn't a spirit for every animal, but there's certainly at least 100, though I might create more, who knows. So at minimum, Biovis has 90-ish spirits to create monstrosities from. Corkle the Tulpa Man asked, where do you get inspiration for the color choices? For characters, I pick a specific color based on either their vibes or concept. Like, when I visualize them, that's the color that comes to mind first, and then I work the rest of the palette from there. Animal spirits, I do the same thing. I assign colors depending on the vibes of the animal, their powers, their mythology that inspires said powers, or just straight up the color of the real animal itself. Or sometimes it's a related reference, because I'm a nerd. Then those spirit colors are used as a baseline for the palette of the chimera that they make. So yeah, simple as that. Namlaki asked, do you plan for the series to be Big Bad the Day style from this point forward? Or have an overarching plot that is followed over the course of several episodes? Both, actually. I'm basing the format off of Kamen Riders, or at least the seasons of Heisei I've experienced so far, where it's an overarching plot that follows a Monster of the Week formula, but then gradually evolves into a more serialized, multi-part story as it nears its final act. I think it's a fantastic formula that is perfect for the story I want to tell. Anonymous asked, what's your roadmap for the future of the comic? Like I said, I'm basing my format on Kamen Rider seasons, which typically, from my experience, have a total of around 50 episodes and 3 acts to its story. So I took the episode total of my favorite season, O's, and worked from there. The Savage will consist of 3 volumes, each 16 episodes long, with a grand total of 48 episodes. I got all of Volume 1 planned at least in base premises, and I refuse to detail the other volumes beyond the major points I have in mind until this volume is nearly done. Just want to avoid overwhelming myself with overplanning, you know? Drocto Hyena again asked, what's everyone's favorite Kamen Rider show? Joey would excitedly give you his top 6 in ascending order. Geats, Dragon Knight, yes the westernized version, Xaid, Den-O, Build, and O's. Hilda and Fang had always known about Kamen Rider because some of the spirits found it in other tokusatsu, and had to show everyone else because it's weird how similar the suits are to how druids look when using their powers. What a coincidence! Hilda binged several Heisei-era seasons while in the menagerie, focusing on only the most colorful looking riders, with her favorites being Xaid, Fourze, and Den-O. Fang didn't get into it until after the events of the first episode, wanting to watch it to better understand Joey's motivations to be a hero. He doesn't have a favorite yet, but enjoys them as a whole. Lynn has only experienced any Rider media by osmosis of being Joey's sister. She liked Dragon Knight for the cute guys and watched the anime version of Double and really liked it. That's about it, but she admits from what little she's seen of the proper series, she gets why Joey loves it so much. Mike and Mark are newbies to the series, but became fanboys after binging a few seasons Joey recommended. Build was their first and currently favorite. Kaz says she likes Kiva and Skull, but she hasn't watched any of it. She's just seen the various suits and likes those the most. Biovis knows what Kamen Rider is, but never watched it, and after Savage arrived, she became a hater of anything that looks like him. Mythmoth has no true positive preferences for any media. He only knows what he doesn't like, and he's at least lukewarm about Kamen Rider. Clockwork Hat asked, what is everyone's favorite thing to physically consume? Joey likes pizza and fruity drinks. Hilda likes meat, bones, and fried foods. Fang likes fish. Lynn likes coffee and ice cream. Mike likes cheap fast food. Mark likes breakfast. Kaz likes pastries. Biovis eats only the most processed and sugary junk food. And Mythmoth has no preferences on what he consumes so long as it's not awful. Kenexandrite asked, according to each of the characters, what is their ideal means of stealing an intercontinental ballistic missile? Okay, buddy, sure. Biovis would create a chimera to blast through their defenses and yoink it away from there. Mythmoth would try to stealth, but is fully capable of using brute strength and his powers to plow through security. Joey and Lynn would ask permission to take it. Hilda and Fang are spirits, so they can easily phase through anything that isn't magical. And Kaz and the Boom Twins are civilians. They would fail immediately. Anonymous asked, who is everyone's favorite superhero? I don't have any designs for the in-universe real-life heroes yet, so we'll be sticking to the fictional variety we're familiar with. Biovis and Mythmoth hate superheroes, so they don't get a say in this, lol. Actually, no. Hey, me and the editing here to give you these two's favorite supervillains instead of doing this cop-out joke. Biovis likes the Joker, Carnage, Dr. Animo, Quackerjack, and thinks Marvel's Sauron is an inspiration. And while Moth usually has no preferences for media, he has rare occasions of liking specific things. And in this case, he resonates with Magneto and Venom. He can't tell you why, he just thinks they're cool. Okay, back to the rest of the video. Joey is a massive fan of Spider-Man, and yes, he is depressed about it. His second favorite is tied between Wolverine and Batman. Lynn likes Batman, Constantine, and The Question, but has only experienced them in animated form. Mike likes Superman and Iron Man, while Mark likes Batman and Captain America. These two get into who would win debates constantly, and I could see them being big fans of Death Battle and 1 Minute Melee as a result. And Kaz thinks Zatanna and Spawn are hot, and that's it. Whew! And with that, all the questions have been answered. I think I've given enough new information for today. Yep, nothing else new to share. Hey, wait a minute, that's the cover to the next episode! Oh my god! That's right! Episode 2, Running of the Joe, is already fully written and thus in full production. I'm hoping to get it done by the end of 2025, but who knows with this crazy bizarre life of ours these days. And that's truly all for now. Thank you for watching. I hope I answered your questions well enough. If you like what I do or like what I plan to do next, please consider subscribing to the channel, following me on DA and Blue Sky, or even donating to my Ko-fi linked below. Until next time, please, have a good one!